La base anglophone s'est fâchée, il a changé ses propos, puis là, il revient à ses propos originaux.
Exactement. Est-ce que ça affaiblit sa crédibilité à tes yeux, Mario?
Énormément. J'ai jamais vu d'affaire de même.
Elias, he lost my vote. He comes across as a person that's not sincere.
Your flowers are not beautiful. My flowers are beautiful.
Okay, my flowers are beautiful. I'm not sure where that's from, but that's part of an ad. Post on social media by the PQ. Basically taking Liberal leader Charles Maillard to task for having kind of waffled, perhaps is a good word, on Bill 96 and use of the notwithstanding clause, something that, first of all, I think angered or drew Anglophones asking what's going on here, because the Liberal position, of course, provincially has always been against Bill 96. But at the same time, perhaps drawing some criticism from the Francophone side, claiming that, maybe Charles Maillard is not the nationalist he claims to be, although today he did issue a statement, again, suggesting just that. I'm going to read you and we'll get to Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon in a sec. It says, a lot has been said in recent days. Allow me to be very clear. I am a proud nationalist, and the promotion of the French language is at the heart of my political commitment. French is our social and cultural glue. It must help bring together, and on and on and on. So, is that a fix? Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon, leader of the Parti Quebecois, on the line. Monsieur Plamondon, thank you so much for the time.
Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing good, and I wonder what the point is of the part of that ad that I just played. Poking fun, is it, at Charles Maillard? What's that for?
So it's a reference to Louis de Funès, who's a comic from the 60s in France, and the name of the movie, for those who are interested, is Le Gendarme à New York, 1965.
Okay.
So basically, our video is to mock the inconsistency and lack of transparency, lack of honesty of Charles Maillard on Bill 96. Basically, he went on Thursday to say that he wanted to use the notwithstanding clause to protect the Bill 96, which is the opposite of the historical position of the Liberal Party. He's been through an emergency caucus where he's been told it was a ridiculous position and that his team opposed what he said. So he went 180 degrees and he said, no, I'm not going to use it anymore. So he backtracked. Finally, for today, coming with a statement full of buzzwords, a bit in the style of Justin Trudeau, like saying a lot of things about bienveillance, being inclusive and well-intentioned and so on. But when you hear what he had to say in press conference today, now he's maybe. So he went from yes, no, and now he says maybe. What he says is, I might use the notwithstanding clause if I need to, and I will consult lawyers and jurists before I tell you what I will do, which is pure nonsense. And the reason is that a government, whatever the color of that government after the next elections, will have to renew or not that notwithstanding clause in 2027. So you know it's happening, you know it's coming, and he's changing his answers depending to whom he's speaking. And it's exactly what he does on immigration. When we ask him, what's the number, what's your figures, what's your planning of immigration, he refuses to answer, and he says, I will consult every region so that we discover together what's our capacity of integration. As if we never asked that question in Quebec over the past 20 years, as if he was the first to think of those issues. So it's not very transparent, and I think people are reacting, Francophones, Anglophones, to the same thing here. It's just lack of transparency, lack of clarity.
So, some people might be questioning, he said, looking at himself in a mirror, why you're concerned about, why Anglophones reacted to his first statement and were kind of questioning, do you really care? I mean, is that even a consideration for you?
As for the Parti Quebecois?
Yeah. I mean, so what? You're not going to get a whole lot of Anglo voters, I don't think, voting PQ. I mean, I think that's a fair assessment. Why would you be concerned about what his message to Anglophones was?
Oh, I'm always campaigning towards Anglophones. I think I'm doing, on average, 10% of the vote, and I think there's a growing proportion of Anglophones, Allophones that agree that uncontrolled immigration imposed by Ottawa is dysfunctional, that agree that ideological drifts imposed by Ottawa are not positive, and they agree on an intelligent and solid government, and they're interested in Quebec leaving Canada. If you take Anglophones in Alberta, and Alberta is Anglophone, there are more people right now wanting to leave Canada and Alberta than there is in the recent polls in Quebec. So I've always been campaigning to Anglophones and Francophones, and the notwithstanding clause, just to talk to people listening to us right now, it's basically the respect of the Parliament in Quebec's decision so that the Charter of 1982, the Constitution of 1982, is not used by Ottawa to overrule democratic decisions. It's important to state again that that Constitution in 1982 was imposed by Trudeau. Quebec never consented, and it's also a government, a judge's government. Judges taking more and more power, with leaving less power to governments, to parliaments. And so the notwithstanding clause is useful, and it's been used by the Liberal Party on dozens of occasions, so it's not proper to the Parti Quebecois. It's been used by all parties, including the Liberal Party.
Would you agree that it's been used too much by the CAQ?
It depends on what, but I mean, there's a real tension in the Western world right now. If you look at Europe, they have the same debate. How far can judges go by extending their interpretation of charters of human rights? How far can they go to decide in the stead of elected members of parliament? So that's the debate. It's not particular to the language issue. It's really general, and I think we need to preserve democracy from unelected people who know better, who think they know better. And one of the issues in the Western world everywhere right now is how far creativity in the interpretation of the Constitution should go. We had several occasions recently. The Supreme Court ruled that Quebec government could not decide whether refugees who are non-citizens should or not access kindergartens. And I think it should be a democratic decision based on finances and status of. But they are interpreting the charter, the Constitution, so widely that now they consider non-citizens to have equal rights than citizens, and therefore imposing on governments unlimited spending on things that maybe that doesn't fit the budget. And same thing with the interpretation of people at the borders. So tribunals are gaining in power, and it's a genuine issue that doesn't concern only language. So
I have a couple of questions. First of all, you use the term ideological drift, which is kind of a general term when you talk about the federal government. What does that mean when you say something like that? Ideological in what sense?
Well, Justin Trudeau was telling you in a rally a few years ago that he was woke and very proud to be woke. Basically, it's referring to radical left ideology that he called post-national philosophy. So he doesn't consider Canada as a country with borders and citizens, but rather Canada as an open border. He called on people to join Canada through Roxham and so on, and he created one of the worst housing crises. He was warned by his own public servants that if he would continue to proceed with unlimited, uncontrolled immigration, it would create such a crisis. And you saw the prices of housing and rents go up.
But with all due respect, he's no longer the Prime Minister.
Oh, Mark Carney is a continuity. Don't think... Actually, it's such an interesting political moment that a government that we all agreed was dysfunctional came with the exact same people and someone that just arrived from England. And because of very particular circumstances, and I think we can name it's the fear of what's happening in the U.S., they were elected again, and it is the same government with the same philosophy. If you look at their convention here in Montreal, it's the same themes, it's the same way of thinking, and that's why other provinces in Canada are putting in question their place in Canada as well. So it's not only about Quebec, it's about abusing powers that were given to the federal in 1867, and from today, imposing also an ideology in institutions, and you see it in the criminal competency of the federal, where ideology is taking a lot of space in our tribunals, but you see it in spending. It creates a lot of waste of money at a period where we hardly can take care of our sick people in hospitals and hardly can take care of our children or elderly. So I'd rather have one government less and having that money and trying to see if we can have a concrete impact on people's lives.
I just want to ask one other thing. You mentioned immigration. You brought that up. From what I see, your numbers for immigration where youth will be elected the premier are the lowest anywhere. Do you not consider immigration serious enough, given the fact that the birth rate in this province is at its lowest ever, that we in fact need more immigration, not less? And when I say more, I mean more compared to your number, not more in general.
Well, it's been more and more. So we've been through in 5-6 years from 100,000 to 600,000 temporaries on the. So until the housing crisis is resolved, I think we need to go to lower levels. Doesn't mean to go to zero. And of course, if you create a housing crisis by bringing an uncontrolled number of people on the territory, the prices are high. So there was a study recently in La Presse showing that for young families, not having the affordability of housing, not being able to afford a house, will play on the decision of on having children or many children. If you're living in a 2-room apartment, you will not have 5 kids. Obviously.
So you're blaming the housing shortage on the fact that there's too many immigrants?
I'm naming a study published in La Presse a few weeks ago that clearly shows that if you create a housing crisis and that housing is too expensive, it will have an impact on a negative impact on the birth rate, the decision of having children. And it's not very surprising between you and me. I mean, obviously, affordability of life in general, but especially affordability of housing that needs to be adequate to have children is one of the factors. So, and other studies show that mass immigration does not bring your population to be younger. So, I mean, I'm talking also to Quebecers who are from immigration, who came to Quebec in the past decades. It's not in their interest neither to have soaring prices because our policies are based on ideology. So we had a good model of immigration for years in Quebec where we had a decent number of people based on very demanding criteria, and the integration went well and everything was stable until Justin Trudeau decided that for ideological reason he would bring Canada to 100 million people over the next years. It's pure nonsense, and it had consequences on not only the housing, but if you look GDP per capita, Canada is the worst country in the past 10 years compared to all Western countries, all OCDE countries. And that's because we had such a demographic shock that the GDP per capita, the wealth per capita, didn't grow at all. So, I mean, what I'm talking about is just facts, and it's just bad policy making. And my point to your listeners is that we should do better, and we could do better if we would decide on our own. But unfortunately, many of the powers are in the hands of a government that is very far from our reality, and unfortunately very, very drifting based on ideology.
Last thing, we got to go. I see today, maybe I should congratulate you, there's a Léger poll that asked Quebecers who would make a better prime minister, and Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon is number 1. You're in the lead according to this poll. What's your reaction to that?
Well, I'll have good polls and I'll have bad polls. But I think what people are willing to give me after 5 years and a half as a leader of the Parti Quebecois is that unlike other politicians, I think we can say I'm a straight shooter for better sometimes and for worse other times. But I've been very consistent and clear about everything. And so people agree or they don't agree, but in general, they trust that what I say has been thought over and will be consistent over the next month and years. And I think trust is maybe what we lack the most in our current period of time. Institutions are less trusted by people, whether it's media, whether it's universities, and because there are ideological situations that we've never seen. Being consistent and straight about where we're trying to head to go has value, and I hope I will keep that support and keep that approach. And sometimes it doesn't help me. I think polls will show that if I would drop the objective of being a country in Quebec to be independent, I would have better support. But then I wouldn't be myself, and I don't think I would be saying the truth. So we'll see how it goes.
Okay.
But so far, so good.
Appreciate the time as always. Thank you so much.
I'm Luke Wilson. Join me each week for Film Never Lies. Since retiring from the NFL, I've had a lot on my mind, and now I've got my own show. So if you're tired of lazy takes, if you want honest conversations, join us each week. Film Never Lies, available on all TSN platforms and the iHeartRadio app.